Hi, I'm Mike McLean. Here on the Short Circuit Young Voices episodes, I speak with young people about their ambitions, desires and achievements in relation to aviation. Whether they're still in education or starting their careers, we need to listen to the voices of today. Learning is a two-way process, and the future of aviation will depend on those who are going to create it. So, let's go. Today's chat is with Jacob Haseldine. In the second of our Young Voices episodes, Jacob was a pleasure to chat with. Still in further education, Jacob's perspective on the aerospace industry and the future is refreshing indeed. I'll let him speak for himself, but before we start, I have a request. Please remember to click the like button, share with friends and colleagues, and subscribe. This really does help us get the word out. So with that in mind, here goes. Good afternoon, Jacob Haseldine. Welcome to the Short Circuit podcast. And I'm going to start off with question number one, and that is, who are you and what's your role in aviation?
So my name is Jacob Haseldine. I'm currently a second year aerospace engineering undergraduate at the University of Birmingham. So I'm still quite early on in my career as compared to some of the other people that have been on the podcast. This year, I've been a big part of UB Racing, which is the University of Birmingham's Formula student team.
Right.
So we build a single seat race car. So it's not quite aerospace, but I've had quite a bit of involvement with a lot of skills that are transferable to the aerospace industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just really enjoyed working on that, working with a lot of composite parts on the car and just getting involved as part of a design and engineering team.
Right. Okay. Well, the number of times this comes up with, motorsport and the transfer from motorsport into aerospace. And there's the old saying, racing cars just an upside down aeroplane and all that sort of thing. So it's all the same physics, it's all applicable. So you've gone into the world of aviation and you're studying in that direction. So what got you started? What first got you looking upwards?
Well, I think for me, when I was growing up, seeing a lot of things like the space shuttle and other things that NASA were doing, a lot of rocketry got me really interested. And then growing up, I've seen things like the Falcon 9 Rocket Lab, things like that. They've been being worked on, being developed, and just seeing I am more interested in the space side of aerospace, but definitely seeing then those things brought back down towards what we're doing locally that can help.
Did you hear the episode with Ben Jarvis, who's a Rocketeer? He gave us an
No,
episode.
I don't think I have.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, that's something you need to listen to because I think you'll enjoy that one. So yeah, aerospace. So there's a lot of people don't really understand the difference between aeronautics or aviation and then aerospace. I mean, I suppose there's a clue in the name. But once you start getting into outer space, there's a whole new bunch of challenges that you have to deal with. So first of all, you've got to get through the atmosphere, and then you've got to get outside the atmosphere and do stuff there. When you're a nipper, you must have been watching science fiction films or documentaries, or that something must have sort of caught your imagination there.
Something that I really got me started in that was we went on a scout trip to the National Space Center, and we camped there overnight. So getting to spend a couple of days there, just have a look around there. They've got lovely models and actually some parts from Apollo vehicles. Getting to have a look at those and just see some of that up close and personal.
Mm-hmm.
That was really interesting for me.
So how aware are you of the whole Saturn program? Because I grew up watching that live, which was at the time everybody watched it. Everybody in the Western world sat and watched this thing. But you don't hear much about it now, so I'm curious that you've referenced it already. That sounds for me that's interesting that you've got there.
Yeah, no, it's something that I got interested in. I've done a lot of research into it, watching various different films, For All Mankind on Apple TV, being able to watch that because that goes through some of the history, but then also some of the concepts that may or may not happen in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And watching films like Apollo 13, things like that are really something that helped get my interest going for aerospace.
All right. Okay. There's one book I would recommend to you, which the title of the book is Apollo Remastered, which I bought a couple of years ago. I can't remember who the author is, but I'll fill you in on that. But yeah, if you Google Apollo Remastered, it costs a couple of quid, but it's well worth it. The photography is absolutely divine. It's great. So I think you'll enjoy that. So you mentioned you were with the Scouts. Uh,
Yes.
right. Okay. So did you just do the Scouts? You never got into the Air Cadets or anything like that?
No, I prefer the more relaxed nature of scouts, where if something like Air Cadets is a bit more regimented and yeah, something like scouts is a bit more personal for me.
Hmm.
And my family have always been part of the scouts, so
Right.
I sort of shepherded that direction as well.
Okay, that's well, that makes perfect sense. It certainly worked for you. And you're at
Yeah.
university, and did you say second year at the
Yeah,
moment?
second year, just finished my second year a couple of weeks ago.
And where did you, well, before we get to where do you want to go, getting to university, did you find that easy or did you have some challenges to overcome or?
I mean, it was not something that my family has typically done in the past. Both of my parents left school very early and went straight into jobs.
Mhm.
So I've not got much family history in terms of going to university, but I've got cousins and things that have started to do that. And obviously, I think the way the world's going at the minute, more and more people are starting to go towards university rather than just doing college, doing A levels or O
Mhm.
levels, depending on when you sat them. So yeah, after I did my A levels, did maths, further maths, physics,
Mhm.
and computer science.
Wow.
Up until that point, wasn't too sure exactly what I wanted to do. So towards the end of my GCSEs, I went to the Big Bang Science Fair
All
at the
right.
NEC
Okay.
in Birmingham,
That'd be fun.
and that showed me what engineering was and what I could get involved with. And that's something that I really enjoyed as well. And it's something that I'm hoping to go back and start helping at
Okay. So
because
what was,
it was something that really helped me.
yeah, I mean, was there anything, what was the highlight for you at that science fair? What caught your imagination?
One of the things that I really enjoyed was they gave you a circuit board and then you had to then populate it with components, soldering it on, following a circuit diagram and using that to then make it was like a little xylophone
All right. Okay.
using some just a little electronic xylophone using some resistors and things. Yeah, it got me interested towards electronics as well
Mhm.
and helped me begin that journey.
Right. Okay. That fired up your imagination. So you worked hard at school, you got into university, you're plowing your way through that course at the moment. So where do you
Yeah.
see yourself going? What's the target for you then?
Um, just working as part of a team, working on solving problems. I've not got any particular interests as of yet. I'm
Mhm.
hoping that over the next couple of years, I'll be able to go and maybe visit some companies, have a look around, go to some events, and just find out what particular niche I want to fit into.
Right. Okay. So at the moment there's no pinpoint target, but you're scoping for targets. So that's you'll figure it out
Yeah,
once you get there. But first of all, you're just gathering up all your tools and weapons so you can handle it when it comes up. That sounds like
yeah, exactly.
a very sensible approach. Moving on a little bit, what do you see coming over the horizon? What challenges do you reckon that when you've finished your studies and you've got all your skills and everything sorted out, what challenges do you think you'll be needed to tackle? Where are you going to go? How are you going to contribute to society? Where's it all going to come together?
I think this has come up before, but I think electrification within the aerospace industry is going to be a big part of what's going to be researched and developed over the next few years,
Hmm.
just because of how fossil fuels are going. They are going to run out at some point, and as much as sustainable fuels are a good alternative, they do require a lot of development in terms of adapting and manufacturing them, but then also the farming that then needs to go into producing the raw materials for that. Whereas electrification is something that we have got solved to a better extent so far.
Hmm.
It's just going to be optimizing things for using batteries or other alternative methods of energy storage.
Right. What's your gut feel on energy storage? Because this is what it all boils down to. I'm making a propeller or a fan blade spin round. That's relatively easy if you have energy.
Yeah.
There's methods to do that, but it's the difficult part seems to be getting the energy in a form that you can transport it from one place to another and then use that energy as required without destroying the planet on the way, sort of thing. So at the moment we've got different various forms of batteries. We've got hydrogen. I think some new chemistries that they're looking at in the future. But do you have do you have a preference? Which one do you think is going to win out in the long run, or do you see different horses for different courses?
We use a lot of lithium ion batteries at university in various projects. So they're sort of a workhorse at the moment, but
Mhm,
whether we can come up with alternative chemistries that are going to be lighter, because that's obviously a big driving factor in aircraft. You need to keep them as light as you can.
mhm.
Um, and then you get into the realms of tug aircraft for takeoff and things like that. Whereas then you just shed that tug to have a lighter aircraft for just the cruise. Because as I'm sure most people probably know, the biggest energy burn of an aircraft is that initial climb.
That's an interesting concept. So nobody's mentioned that before. So basically, the image I have in my head is you got something like an airliner. So it's a big, heavy thing with lots of people on board, and attached to that is something that is basically stuck on the front or the back or the bottom, which helps it get up into the air. Once it's up in the air, the
Yeah.
tug falls away, goes back to the airport, refuels, whereas the airliner carries on its journey without all the extra weight needed to get it up there. So once it's up to height, it's just maintain and then land as opposed to climbing up and down. That's a clever idea. Hmm. Well, no, seriously,
Yeah, I think I've seen it in research papers.
yeah, I have that. I've seen it with gliders, obviously. That's how they work, or a lot of the
Yeah.
time. But applying that to a powered aircraft, that's the first time I've considered that. So I'll have to go and do some reading now. That's impressive. Well done.
Yeah,
Um,
because obviously the big downside with batteries is that you don't lose the mass but you don't burn the fuel. It's always there.
mhm.
So
Yes,
you don't get lighter throughout a flight. You're going to stay at that mass for the whole time.
clever. I like that thinking. That's good stuff. So you talked about some of the projects you got at school, at university, and you're using lithium ion batteries and so on. So I mean, how much hands-on time do you get on the course that you're on? Or is it 90% theoretical, or are you in the lab or in the workshop, or what keeps you, what do you prefer as well? What gets you excited? Do you like getting your hands dirty?
Yeah, I'm definitely a hands-on person through doing DT and GCSE, getting stuck in with a hands-on project there, getting stuck in at things like the Big Bang Fair and just getting involved with something in front of you.
Hmm.
That's how I learn, working with something. So the course itself is pretty theoretically based, and
Hmm.
we do get opportunities to do a lot of some practical work on the side. But is the big thing that you can do at university is the extracurricular. So
Right.
things that aren't directly part of your course, but the online societies that the university is running, if you get involved with those, and then that's where you can really make a difference and get stuck in.
Hmm. Okay. And what sort of societies are you? If you wish to divulge, you don't have to. But I'm just curious to see what's making you tick in your
No,
spare
yeah.
time.
As I mentioned, the Formula Student team, we work with an electric car, so that's got a battery pack on board that's fully designed and built by us students, and I've
Hmm.
actually had pretty big part hand in that this year.
Hmm.
We're just in the final stages of getting ready to go to Silverstone and race that.
Right.
So projects like that, where we get given the freedom to design and manufacture things with the help of the university, but independent, that's something that you can really use to your advantage, getting
So
that hands-on experience.
I mean that's gonna be a good day when you get to race your own car around Silverstone. That's
Yeah, exactly.
that'll be exciting. That'll be exciting. And have they managed to tie that in with the F1 circus, or is that on a
No, we're
separate?
a couple of weeks after.
Ah, right. Okay. Okay. It's a shame. You'll get there eventually. Don't worry. It's No, that sounds really good. And so you're building your car. You mentioned composite materials earlier on. So do you get on involved in that side of it, or are you more on the electronics and side of the thing?
So I've designed and built the battery this year, and we use obviously there's the electronics and control side of it to make sure that we're safe with it, but then we also store it in a Kevlar composite case as well.
All
So
right.
that was manufactured in-house by us. And then the entire chassis itself, we all have to help with because that's one of the biggest parts. That's
Hmm.
a carbon fiber composite part.
Right. Okay. And how many in your team then?
There's probably about 40 of us.
Wow. Other than just the technical aspects, then, if you're in a team of 40, then other skills that you'll be developing at this point will be teamwork, team management, how to delegate tasks, all those sorts of things.
Yeah, so we try and set ourselves up in a very business-like structure.
Hmm.
So it's in theory you're going to make your transition to a working environment a lot easier because you've already got experience of doing that.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it all makes sense. I would imagine that you'll find that quite satisfying.
Yeah, definitely. It's something that I was part of the team last year as well. And
Hmm.
at the end of the year, we didn't actually manage to finish the car on time. We were about 2 weeks away from running at the competition.
Hmm.
But even so, being as part of that team was really fun and just helped me find myself at university as well.
Hmm. So obviously we're nattering on here about STEM activities. Um, So, what would you say to young people who are maybe, I don't know, age group 10 upwards? I mean, would you encourage other people to get involved in STEM stuff? And what does it bring to you? What do you find useful? What's transferable? Why would you get involved in STEM stuff?
I mean, I enjoy solving problems, love doing puzzles, things like that.
Hmm.
Just having something a clear problem that you've got to solve and just working around it until you find that solution.
Hmm.
You might not find the best one the first time, but that's the whole point. You spend some time working with it, improving your solution. That's what I enjoy about it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It must be quite an exciting time.
Yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it. Obviously first time living away from home, things like that, making friends. A lot of my housemates I get on really well with. So making friends with them because I'm in a house with two people doing medicine, one person doing biosciences, and then one person doing law. They're
Hmm.
not people that I would typically associate with.
Hmm.
But then just even by living together, I've made really good friends with them, get to spend some time with them in the evenings. And it's sometimes it's a nice break from aerospace coming home to them because otherwise it can become a bit consuming sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, you can disappear off down a rabbit hole. So no, it's good to have that variety. And I think the other thing is that there's always something to learn from these other areas. I mean, you know, the effects on the human body for flight, especially space flight, is a big thing.
Yep.
You know, so you'll learn there. So there is always crossover. So you know, everything's learning. It's either learning or fun. So if you can do both at the same time, that's great. I'm assuming that you know your family are pleased that you're doing what you're doing and blazing the trail, getting into further education and so on.
Yeah, no, it's something that they've been very, very good at supporting me with. They've obviously helped me driving me to Birmingham, transporting things around, doing washing for me and things like that. They've been great.
Yeah, it's good to hear though. It's excellent. So you've got a couple of years to go. You're not too
Yep.
sure where you're going to go at the end of this. I mean, given the choice, so if your fairy godmother walked in and said, "Okay, you've got one job, but you can have any job that you want, but you only got to get it now," what would you say?
I think I'd have to say go and work at NASA.
Hmm.
It's very difficult for a non-US citizen to work for NASA at the minute. So unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be able to happen very easily.
Hmm. Well, you can always sort of get in through the back door, I guess. So you got European Space Agency, UK Space Agency, get involved with the
Yeah,
ISS. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah, that's Yeah, just because it's NASA, and I know they've got the biggest name, but you know,
No, yeah, of
um,
course.
yeah, yeah. So, talking of which, just very briefly, what do you think of this situation on the space station at the moment with this Boeing capsule and its nitrogen leaks? Doesn't look very good,
It's
does it?
certainly an interesting one. It's taken them a while to get it right,
Mm.
but even then, they've still not managed to fully get it sorted out. So we'll see what happens. From everything that I've seen so far, everyone's safe. So
No,
yeah,
it's I mean, pushing frontiers and all those cliches. You know, everything's a prototype and everything's hand built, so it's always difficult. It's never easy, never easy.
yeah.
Time is shot on. So we're going to move towards the big question of the day. But this is the point where I ask everybody if they're listening to this to like, share, and subscribe the podcast. So we've got to get a little plug in and just try and spread the word. And the other thing I'll say at this point is that I am looking for more young voices to come on and to talk about where they think they're going and what they're thinking of in the world of aviation and aerospace. So, Jacob, if you can recommend anybody to me, we can talk about that afterwards. And anybody listening to this, if you're keen, find us on the website, swiftaircraft.com, and just get in touch with me from there. So, we come to the big question, and that is, what's your favorite aircraft and why? And in your case, since you're an aerospace guy, I'll give you the option of doing something that is a flying thing as opposed to just an aeroplane.
I'm going to go with something that is probably more of an aeroplane than what you might expect, and I'm going to say the Ingenuity Mars helicopter.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So tell us a little bit about that one. It's not something that immediately springs to mind, so I'm going to have to do homework on this.
Yeah, so it's something that got sent with Perseverance in 2020, hitched a ride on the bottom, and it is a 1.4 kilo, I believe, little helicopter, twin rotor, and it flew on the surface of Mars.
Right, I've got you now. Yes, I remember seeing an article about it on, I don't know, on the news. Wow. Okay, so this is our
Yeah.
first extraterrestrial appearance on the virtual podcast wall, virtual t control tower wall, I should say. Right. So what's fascinating about it? What's apart from it going to Mars? Why did that catch your attention?
So obviously, it's due to the lower density on Mars, it's got to have much larger propellers than what you would typically have,
Hmm.
and it's completely battery powered as well. So it's an electric motor, things like that. It's almost built almost entirely from like off the shelf parts. So
Okay.
typically, you might find in the space industry they're built with customized specialist parts, whereas they wanted to keep the cost down. Just do a bit of research into how much you had to do to convert a off the shelf normal camera, things like that, into something that would survive in a space environment.
Hmm.
And as they discovered, it was originally slated for 5 flights, and they managed to get through, I think it was 72 before they had any sort of issues.
Wow.
So they significantly exceeded their expectations with how long it was going to survive and how useful it was going to be.
There's a massive lesson there, I think, which is you don't have to design everything from scratch. You know, it's there's always a tendency, I think, quite often engineers get into a mindset where they want to invent everything, but if it's already there, use it. You know, what's the objective? Is the objective to build something new, or is the objective to go and collect samples and data and pictures? And oh, brilliant. Okay. So you've caught me completely by surprise with that one. So I'm pleased because I always mentally I'm always playing the games, see if I can anticipate what the guest is going to choose. But no, you beat me completely with that one. So I'm very impressed. Well done. Well done. Jacob, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for coming along today. I
Very much for
will,
having me.
no problem at all. I will drop you a line after the show, and we'll figure something out that you can come and pay us a visit at Swift Aircraft and have a look around and poke and prod and ask questions and challenge my existing engineers and see if you can make them stumble. That's always good fun.
Yeah, I will do.
Okay. Okay, thanks for your time. See you then. So that was Jacob Haseldine. I find it fascinating to talk with young people at the start of their journeys. It sounds like Jacob has set his sights high and far, and that he has the attitude to get to where he wants to be. Following your interests, being willing to learn and to make the effort seems to be a good recipe for enjoying life. So we wish Jacob well and all success for the future. May you live long and prosper. And, as always, thanks for listening and fly safe. You have been listening to The Short Circuit, presented by Mike McLean and sponsored by Swift Aircraft with the hashtag Inspiring Aviation. This has been a Zoom Spike production.